Good afternoon. Well, how's everyone doing? Give me a second. I'm sorry, I am casual. I just came back from my trainer and I didn't have time to change, so. But I wanted to make sure I jumped on here for just a few minutes. And I want to talk about a specific subject. And I know many of you, this is the place where you want to have this discussion. And I always tell you on Tuesday nights, we ain't having that discussion like that on Tuesday nights. But today I want to talk about access. Can we talk about access today? As we talk about access, I'm going to give you guys a few more minutes, people to get on. I know it's noon. Some people are at lunch. I got to figure out the right times to get on here. I did announce it, but we'll see what happens. Oops. I want to see something. I want to share something with you that I think is vitally important. There's a lot of statistics online about fathers' rights, parental rights, unwed fathers, what access they actually have, what that looks like. And I want to be the person to get on here and just kind of have a conversation around that. Let me turn this down. I want to be able to see. And before I go any further, I am Dr. Tori J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And this is Help is on the Way Thursdays. This is what I'm supposed to do. I've had a few guests on before, so let me get that going back, around so we can get more people on. I've had my private investigator on. I've had mediators on. I've had an attorney on. So everybody's trying to call while I'm on here. That's the office line. So let's talk for a moment today. I just want to talk about access. There was a census done a long time ago, and this census produced some interesting information. Now, I'm not going to say I don't believe these numbers are still true, but I believe that it's important to cite the numbers so that we can have a conversation about where we think these numbers are today. Anyone who knows me, hey, James, hey, Darren, anyone who knows me knows that I like you to engage with me and tell me what you think. Tell me where you at with this. But here's some numbers from the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm going to type this in here. U.S. Census, and it was from 1991. And many of you have probably seen this. And in seeing it, you're like, okay, what does that actually mean? 37.9% of fathers have no access or visitation rights to their children. So what does that mean? I have seen, surveys even recently where it's talking about Black fathers are more engaged than any other race. I've seen, why don't we put that in there too? Right. So we've had this conversation around just what's really going on in fatherhood itself. What is it? What does it look like? 37.9% of fathers have no access or visitation rights. What do you guys think? Do you think that's the number? Do you think that's increased since 1991? 1991 is a long time ago. I mean, we're talking, 30 years ago? We're talking 30 years ago since numbers have been put out. I'm going to tell you, I believe that number is much higher. I believe that number is much higher, or maybe I should say it this way. I believe the number went up and it's done a bell and it's starting to come down because fathers back then, they didn't know what their rights were. They didn't understand the process, and more fathers are obtaining information to learn how to access their children. Now, when we start adding parental alienation in here, that's a whole nother thing. Next Thursday, I'm going to get on here. I was sent a video about parental alienation and something that Dr. Childers, I believe is who the person is that said it, that he said. And someone sent it to me and told me, they were like, I want you to listen to this and tell me what you think. So next Thursday, I'm going to play the video And then I'm going to talk about what I think pertaining to his position and his stance. So tune in for that next Thursday. Parental alienation. Many of you have really believed like that's your mission. You have a goal to just destroy parental alienation, and I get it. I do have a problem with one thing though, and I always laugh because Black fathers are learning the terms parental alienation. They just be like, my baby mama won't let me see my kids. And I'm not laughing about that because it's funny. I'm laughing about it because it's like language is everything. And language is what keeps everyone from joining together. But let's get into this. Darren says, oh, wow, Darren, that's an interesting thing. Darren believes it's increased due to the Me Too movement. Me Too movement has been something that's fairly new in the last couple of years. I feel like 1991 might have been the like when this thing started. Like they started to do this. We started to really pay attention to a fatherless generation in the 90s. But it started to get worse as the 90s progressed, right? We got into the war on drugs. We got into mass incarceration. We got into all of these different things. We got into Title 4D and really getting child support being reformed, meaning through welfare. Many of you don't know that Social Security and welfare reform are all tied to dads having access to their children. Many of you don't realize that. You think that's just part of, that's just part of what I pay into, and it's part of government acts and all of that. But that all plays a role into dads having access to their children. And so welfare reform was huge in the 90s during the Clinton administration. Hello. Even George Bush did some reforms, but the reforms that I do remember from George Bush weren't specifically attacking fathers' access and child support. Unfortunately for you Democrats, you feel like that was pushed. That was really Bill Clinton with George Clinton. Bill Clinton was your dude. Unfortunately, he put some things in place that definitely impacted your fatherhood. And that welfare reform that took place during that season was rough. War on drugs, say no to drugs. Remember that during Ronald Reagan? Whew, Jesus. These are things that have impacted how fathers are able to access their children. So if the census in 1991, 30 years ago, says 37.9% of fathers have no access or visitation rights to their children, I'm going to say with Darren, I do believe it increased, but I'm going to tell you, I believe it's decreasing even as we speak, because what has changed concerning fathers having access and visitation rights to their children is information. Dads are learning information. Dads are fighting differently. I can tell you stories about, like I just got off the phone with a client. Can we talk about corrupt court just for a moment, just for a quick second? Because I don't like to give too much attention to foolishness because I just think it's just crazy. St. Louis County, as many of you know, or if you don't know, you should go Google it. St. Louis County is going through a total investigation. The federal government has come in. National news has come in. Judges, guardian ad litems, judges have been recused. Judges are retiring. Guardian ad litems are being sued. All this stuff. So let me give you a breakdown of what I've experienced. One of my offices has been in St. Louis for years. We closed it down during COVID, but prayerfully during the month of July, I will be able to go back and reopen that office. Even the person who was helping me, they've moved, but we're going to look for somebody else to help. But let me tell you something about St. Louis. So I would have clients there's paperwork online. A lot of states have forms that you can fill out online and go forth pro se. And dads work very hard to try to figure out the paperwork and file it. But when you go to St. Louis County, you would experience this pushback. And then they would not only push back, they would run you from office to office, frustrating you. Office to office. Oh my God. And dads would call and say, oh my God, Dr. Torrey, I've tried to do this. I need your help, right? And I didn't know what was going on. So I went in one day, not in a suit, but in very much so like my workout clothes. Went in there and they ran me from office to office because they thought I said I was filing paperwork for my boyfriend. Sometimes you gotta lie, right? And I wanted to see how they would respond. When I tell you, I went to like 4 offices, up the stairs, down the stairs, round the corner. And in truth, it was actually across the hall from the first place I went to. I'm sharing this because I need you guys to know that there is a true intent to frustrate fathers, to get them to give up, to get them to let go, to get them to say, you know what, forget it. I don't have time for this. And as a woman walking in there, they frustrated me to a point where I was like, okay, from here on out, I need to do something different. And I've had clients now who have had very similar experiences with everything that's going on in St. Louis County. And because I don't have an employee there due to COVID, I was able to send in Kenneth Rosa of the Fathers' Rights Movement in St. Louis, and he was able to help get paperwork filed for those clients simply because attorneys are even getting pushback. When I spoke to one of my friends who's an attorney in St. Louis, he was like, we're filing things and it comes back 30 days later. We're frustrated. We don't know what's going on. And I was like, even the attorneys are having a hard time. So I sent Kenneth Rosa in. He said, yes, he do. I sent him in and he got it done. But he got it done after the clerk. Let me give you a breakdown. What happened to this one client? The clerk had all of this man's paperwork. They had his checks and money orders or whatever to pay for his filing. But the reason they couldn't file it was because there was one paper document that wasn't signed on one of the cases. He has 2 cases on one of the cases. But the other issue, you guys, was the order. They wanted the documents to be in a certain order. So because it wasn't in this specific order, they just had his paperwork sitting there. Order. There's nothing online that says we need this order. We need your documents from this, nothing online. They're using reasons, as many as they possibly can, to frustrate a father. So for you mothers and you judges and all you people on here who says fathers don't want to be present, I'm telling you right now, you're a liar. I'm telling you you're a liar, and I'm going to tell you why I know you're a liar. Because I've watched fathers press in. I've watched fathers go through the process, and they get frustrated. They cry. They call and cuss me out. They call me a fraud and this and that. Because you guys are, I'm talking to the courts. The courts are frustrating fathers to a point where they don't know if they're coming or going. Help is on the way Thursday. This is what I want you to know. In 1991, that census clearly says 37.9% of fathers have no access or visitation rights. That's a high number. I believe that number increased over time. But what I want to share with you today is I believe that number is coming down because of organizations like mine, organizations like the Fathers' Rights Movement, organizations like Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. Different organizations are out here to help fathers get the information and get the knowledge that they need. And there are, whether you guys want to believe it or not, I know so many of you are frustrated with attorneys, but I'm going to give a shout out to amazing attorneys across this country who are doing great work to help fathers navigate this storm. There are attorneys who will take installments and payment plans. My new attorney out of San Francisco, I mean, my call with this woman, let me just tell you, I don't like calling California attorneys. Now, I got Marissa Grayson in Los Angeles, who is one of the baddest, in the country. Marissa Grayson is dope. The collective, the legal collective, and all that they have is amazing. We get 50% off, child. So if your retainer is $5,000, she's going to cap it at $2,500. Boom. Because California, I can't get you to what I can get the pro bono, low bono, because it's expensive. But I can get you 50% off with Marissa Grayson, and I'm grateful for that. When I'm speaking to the new attorney, Ayanna Jenkins Tony in San Francisco, gave her a call. Y'all need to know this. I'm always nervous about calling attorneys because some won't, they be like, and go off, right? And you just know you're not going to touch them. But it's not easy calling attorneys, just so y'all know, to be like, hey, can you help me with pro bono, low bono case? Like, that's not easy. But I do it. I do it for clients. I do it to have the roster. I do it to have people in place. And so when I called attorney Ayanna Jenkins Tony, told her what I was doing, told her why I was doing it, she said, you had me at the at the name of the organization. She said, when you were calling from a 404 number, and she was referred, I heard her name a couple of times. When you called me from a 404 number, I was like, okay, what's going on? She's from Atlanta. She then told me her story. And this is what you guys have to know. There are people with stories who are attorneys and judges who are on your side. So while you constantly saying ain't nobody on your side, listen to this story. She said, you had me at the name of the organization. She said, I can't do low bono or pro bono. This is California. See, I keep telling you, California is a whole nother beast. She said, but what I can do is cap it. I will cut my hourly fee in half, and I will cap how much they will have to pay me. I think she said 3,000 was the total that a client would have to pay her in total. She said, my parents got a divorce. My father got primary custody, and he raised us. And so I know what it's like to grow up in a home with a father, and it's important to me. I need, while we're sitting on here talking about the 37.9% of fathers who have no access and visitation rights, I need many of you to realize that you can look around and see how many people, okay, I don't have any visitation rights, and that number has gone up. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are against me. I feel like there's a lot of people who don't want me to win. Y'all know I'm a scripture person. I'm a Bible person. I've had some battles and trials myself. And I've had to look up and say, you know what? There are more for me than against me. I've just got to pray. And I've got to find a way to access those who are for me. When I called that woman, she said yes right off the bat. I don't get that all the time. And that was probably one of the easiest calls I've had in a long time to an attorney. A lot of times I got to negotiate and some other stuff. That was an easy call. And it was one of the easiest. She is been an attorney for 25 years. She fights for fathers. She's an advocate for fathers. And she has a heart for children to have both parents. I didn't know that. That's not on her website. There's no story about that anywhere. Sometimes I have to follow my intuition, my Holy Spirit, my instinct. And some of you didn't follow your instinct and you ended up with the wrong attorney. But help is on the way Thursday. I want to tell you today that you may not have any access. You may not have any visitation rights, but you need to tap into solutions, organizations that are solution driven in order to obtain that. Let me see. Ashley says, the problem becomes even good attorneys get tired of the case when it drags on for years. Absolutely. We've had great attorneys start growing tired after 2 years and start slacking and dropping the ball as a result. So let's have that conversation. Actually, we have to be cognizant of the fact that attorneys are going to get tired over the games and the antics, very much so like you. They are human beings. Can you keep affording to pay them in the process of it dragging on for years? Sometimes you can't. Most times you can't. Sometimes that means that I'm going to have to start paying attention to the amount of legwork that I need to do, the amount of legwork that I need to step into to alleviate some of this frustration. Because just like you guys get litigation fatigue, I have seen attorneys get litigation fatigue. Now, if you're paying them, crazy amounts of money, look, that's different. But most people can't afford to do that. And because most people can't afford to do that, we're in a place where we have to do some of the legwork. We also have to do some of the spiritual work, y'all. Go back to Tuesday nights and Monday's prayers. That's the spiritual work. But many are so busy arguing and saying no one's for them and saying that they can't get any help, that really you're not accessing the help that's available at some points. And then sometimes you need to back away to rest so that you can be back in the fight. Calling the attorney for every little thing, and trust me, I've seen it. I have a mom right now who's frustrated over the time frame and oh my God, my retainer's getting eaten up. And that's just part of the journey. And then you call the attorney like, my retainer's getting eaten up. Well, when you calling them and they eating up more of your retainer from that call about the retainer being eaten up. We can't do that. We're going to have to find ways to get this right. That's one of the reasons, like, I got the men's room and the ladies' room, and I'm telling you, I've had so much going on. I'm trying to get those right. I've told my board members they got to get in there and do what I need them to do. Okay. But that's the place where I want you to dump off all of your worries and all of your troubles. That's the place where I want you to have that venting session, because too many of you are venting online and then being called out for venting online, and it gets you in trouble in court. And then there's more litigation fatigue because you're making bad steps. I get that it's emotional. I get that you love your children. And the funny part is that I love your children. I have been blessed to meet many of the children who have been reunited, but it takes time. And I won't even say not 8,000. I have not come close. But before I started catching all these crazy numbers that I'm realizing, I get to meet a lot of the children. Even meeting couples who fought for the children and then they had their own children. There's a family in St. Louis, or they're in Granite City, and they were one of my first. Beautiful white couple. They ended up having their own child, and I was looking a hot mess. I drove in from Georgia and met them, and I'm holding their new baby. There's a picture. It's online. Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, holding the new baby. I didn't sign up. I didn't really sign up to do this. It's a calling. So I said yes in obedience. But let me not get too far off. 37.9% of fathers have no access or visitation rights. But I can also look at that and say, what is that? 76.1% actually do. Now, what does that look like? Is there some alienation in there? Probably. Is there high child support in there? Probably. But I also know that I need to look at the upside of things. And my goal and my mission in my journey is whatever that number is now, is to eradicate it. Whatever that number is, whatever, if it's 37, 57, 67% who have no access and visitation rights, who's being alienated, it's my mission to be the solution to that and eradicate that number. So just know that you may not know who's fighting for you, but know that I am fighting for you. Know that it's my mission every single day that I wake up to fight on behalf of fathers and their children so that they can have what it is that they need. I'm even stepping into the realm of helping single mothers, although I do help them behind the scenes. I've been asked here in South Florida, we have peer groups, and the mothers were really dropping the kids off, and sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. And how many of you know a peer group works better when it's a group? So then I've got one kid and I'm like, I don't want to be in here lecturing this kid. It works better with kids. So as I talked to the mothers, we decided to do a group with the moms at the same time we're working with the children to help them heal from their fatherless journey, because many of them have the same journey their children are on. And so now we are doing Beyond Fatherless Single Moms Snapchat. I don't know why they wanted to call it that, but I'm going to let them call it whatever they want to call it. And so we are partnering with some mental health professionals here in South Florida to help facilitate some of these groups. And I have a new intern who's going to be shadowing me. And we're going to have an amazing time helping people heal and grow. Help is on the way. Thursdays is really about helping you heal and grow, and talking about the custody matters and talking about the legal rights and things of that nature. Title 4D is a very real thing. Corrupt courts are a very real thing. You guys need to go look up what's going on in St. Louis County. It is one of the ugliest things that I've ever seen. But can I say this? Can I look on the positive side and say this? It might be ugly, but with the federal government stepping in, maybe, just maybe, it'll start casting a magnifying glass on all the other counties to be looked at, so that everyone can get a fair shake in court, and that the best interest of the child is really achieved, truly achieved. Let me see what you said, Ashley. It typically looks like an every other weekend schedule. My husband was the 39%. Took 2 years to get him every other weekend and crippling child support. They make it so you have to keep fighting, or you have to settle for seeing your kids 4 days a month. Then those same parents who limit the fathers to 4 days a month throw in the father's face, you're a Disneyland dad. That's very true. That's very true. How can you be a true parent when you're visiting your child, when you only see them 4 to 6 days out of the month? You do become Disneyland dad. You do become the dad. You can't even parent. How do you parent 6 days out of the month? Because when dads call, guess what? You don't answer the phone. You don't answer FaceTime. You know what I've seen moms do? Yeah, it's y'all. Dad will say, you know what? I'm going to eliminate the phone and I'm going to buy my child a phone, even though the child may not even be of an age where they need their own cell phone. but they buy them a phone or a tablet so that they can access their children at the time they're supposed to call. Yep, she said no callbacks either. So in the midst of that, the mothers will block the number in the phone and on the tablet. And then be like, he never called you? Like, y'all some shady people. Oh, y'all shady. And then pretend innocent. I posted on my personal page today. And I posted this today because where I work out, that's why I'm dressed like this. I'm sorry, I came straight from the trainer. Like, no jewelry. Oh, yeah, my earrings, but yeah, like workout. And so there's a girl in the gym, and she plays this innocent role. She confronted me once last week. Now, mind you, I've been going to this gym off and on now for a year. And she was like, I don't know, but do you live here? And I said, no, I don't. Well, she's looking around. I was like, my trainer's on his way. He's in the hallway. He's on his way. And she said, well, I don't think there's any guests. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misinformed, right? She's playing this maybe I'm misinformed, but I don't think there are any guests allowed. Now, mind you, in any gym, it's an apartment complex, beautiful gym. There's a plaque on the wall that literally says residents can have guests. It says it. Maybe I'm misinformed. How many of you have seen that in the mothers of your children? Maybe I'm misinformed, but that's not what the order said. I think you're interpreting it wrong. Maybe I'm misinformed. Maybe it's me. I put on my personal page today, your evil disguised as innocence and concern is being exposed today. Exactly, Ashley. I was like redheaded Karen. And so even today when I showed up, she's in the gym and she makes a phone call to the leasing office and I hear her. She don't see the big sign on the wall. And she calls, she's like, maybe. And she's still playing this innocent role. It's evil at its work. Like, if you're just going to be mean, okay? But don't play in and do it all. Maybe I'm just, and playing this very sweet, hate it. The gym allows guests. It's a sign on the wall. She called down again. But how many of you have experienced that same type of innocence wrapped in concern for your children in the midst of trying to execute your order? Seeing your children. But then we say 37.9%, and I'm sure that number's higher. I don't know why the census hasn't done more research around that, but they hadn't. I'm sure that number went up to close to 50. I'm sure it did. I believe it's coming down. But the innocence disguised, or the evil disguised as innocence and concern. Darren said 24/9. There's not 9, Darren. I think you meant 7. Yeah, it's disguised as concern. These manipulative moms, hold on. These manipulative moms always feign innocence. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was my weekend. The order hasn't changed in 2 years. And she like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was mine. By the way, we out of town already. Oh, the children at my mom and them house. Oh, they're in summer camp. Right. I've seen it. I have seen it. So ladies, I'm calling you out today. I'm gonna always call you out. Dads do some shady stuff too. I've seen it, but not at the level you do. Oh, manipulation and control is crazy. He said Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde. I think it's called bipolar, schizophrenic, or it's a bunch of things. But I just want to say, just know that there are people fighting for you. And know that we see, and we're doing everything we can to assist with legislation, to assist with therapy. If I have to work with one person at a time behind the scenes to change this world, I'm willing to do it. But as I've given you a few stories today surrounding this, I don't want to be on here long. I said I was going to be on here 30 minutes. I'm at 29 minutes and 27 seconds. So give me a few more seconds. But I just came on here to just share the help is on the way. And there's some help here now, but the help you need is on the way. Hold tight. I've heard people say, oh, it ain't going to happen in my generation. Everything that you're looking for may not happen in your generation, but it's going to happen. There's going to be some great things that happen, and great things are happening even as we speak. Ashley, I'm gonna read yours last. She said, "Oh Lord!" And if she calls during Dad's time and Dad doesn't answer, all hell breaks loose, and her attorney is emailing threats of contempt. It's always one-sided. Yeah, and they keep these attorneys on retainer to do whatever it is they need to do, and I don't know how, and I don't know why, but because I don't know where to get. Well, I guess they get the money from Dad's child support to keep this stuff going, which is crazy. Child support's supposed to be for the children. So let me get off of here, but you guys have a great day. Tomorrow I am going to come on at 1:00, and I'm going to start the impact of fatherlessness. I want to say it was James. Someone asked me if I could start breaking down the statistics and really delving into them one by one. So that's what I'm going to do on Fridays at 1. Give you 30 minutes, maybe an hour, where we're going to delve into some of these statistics that we know around fatherlessness and how they may be showing up in your life, in your custody case, in how judges, the narrative that a judge has. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.